Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to make keto rice. So rice is one of the things that we kind of miss when we're on keto for a while. Not so much for the carbohydrate content because it sends our system crazy and we don't want that anymore. But lots of us do miss the kind of recipes and things you could do with some rice dishes. So today I'm going to show you two most popular ways of making keto rice. So one is using cauliflower. So you probably heard of cauliflower rice. And another one is using firm tofu. So this is another ingredient. It's very popular to create keto rice. But on top of that, I'm going to add a secret ingredient, which is shirataki. So those of you who have been making my shirataki ramen, you will know what it is. But for those who don't know, shirataki is a Japanese ingredient. It's made of mountain yam. It's been eaten in Japan for hundreds of years, so you shouldn't have any problem with this. And I normally find them on Amazon UK, but you can normally find them in your local Asian supermarket if you're lucky enough to have one. And it has no calories and no carbohydrate and full of fiber. So it's a really good thing to eat to cleanse your system. So we're going to add shirataki to our keto rice to give it that slight stickiness and chewiness to make your keto rice even more pleasurable to eat. So before we go on the cooking bit, just a quick announcement, just to let you know that I'm now on Twitter as well. So since I talked about my new path to be trained as a yoga teacher, many of you have written to me and asked me about my progress. So I thought Twitter would be a good medium to communicate, to give you kind of regular update, not just on my yoga training, but also recipes as well. It's just an easier platform to reply to you, etc. So my Instagram would be business as usual. It will focus on the food side of things. But on Twitter side, I'll give you more sort of on my day-to-day, my yoga training, and maybe share information with you on keto, all sorts of things. So if you're interested, please follow me on Twitter. And here's the my Twitter handle. So that's out of the way, let's cook. Okay, so first of all, we're going to do the cauliflower rice. So what I've done is to break up the cauliflower into smaller florets around equal size. And we're going to poach them. So what I've got here is a pot of hot water. That's straight out of the kettle. And I'm going to turn the heat on. And then you just pop in the florets of cauliflower and then poach them gently. Just allow it to cook. So we want the cauliflower to cook through, but we don't want them to be too soft, to be overcooked, because once it's cooked, what we're going to do is to chop them kind of rice grain size. So if it's too soft, it's gonna turn all mushy. So you want a little bit of firmness. So cauliflower has been cooking for about 10 minutes. So you can check the firmness with a fork. So you can see it's gone through very easily. So it's about right. And now we're going to drain the cauliflower and then we're going to chop it in sort of rice grain size. So the cauliflower has been cooked and is being left to cool down slightly. And then we're going to chop it into rice grain size pieces. So that's our cauliflower that's cooled down slightly. So now we're going to just chop it into small pieces. The easiest way, obviously, is to put it through food processor and pulse it, and that will be done. But today I'm going to use a knife just to show you. Okay, so there you go. That's the cauliflower rice. I mean, you can chop it finer if you want to, but this is kind of good for me. So that's a cauliflower rice, and now onto tofu rice. So now we're going to make tofu rice. Now you need a frying pan, and I'm going to use 2 blocks of very firm tofu. So in the frying pan, I'm going to add in some oil, just a small amount, very small amount. Just allow the oil to cover the frying pan. What we're going to do is to take the tofu and start to crumble the tofu into the frying pan. It's a bit like feta cheese kind of texture. So in theory, you can use any kind of tofu. Obviously not silken tofu, it's got too much water in it. But if you use, any kind of firm tofu, this has quite small water content because it's very, very firm. So it's actually most suitable to make the rice. So the more water content your tofu has, the longer you need to fry. So what we're aiming at is to fry the tofu till it's quite firm and start to have that kind of rice kind of texture. So I'm using 2 blocks. That's quite a lot of tofu, but I can save part of it for later. And take a spatula and just move it around. So we're not really trying to fry the tofu. What we're trying to do is to get the water content out of the tofu. So you want to adjust the heat so it doesn't start to brown the tofu. In the process, just use the spatula to break down the bigger pieces. So in the end, you just end up sort of rice grain size tofu pieces. Okay, now my tofu has been fried for a few minutes, and now we're going to add in our secret ingredients. That is shirataki. So what I've done is basically take the shirataki out of the packet, drain the water, give it a quick rinse, and then chop the shirataki in small pieces. So just let me show you. So as you can see, I just roughly chop the shirataki into small chunks. And now we're going to add the shirataki into the tofu. Like that. And now we're going to fry the whole thing together. So it's sizzling, and it's sizzling because there's a lot of water content in shirataki as well. So we need to kind of fry it down to bring out the chewiness of shirataki. You can do the same with cauliflower. So you can warm up the cauliflower in a frying pan and then just add in shirataki and fry gently together. So this will bulk it up as well and also make the tofu rice lighter in texture. And just keep doing it until everything firms up. Okay, I think this is good. This is looking good. So I'm going to switch the heat off and then put the rice on the side. To go with the rice, I'm going to make a quick stir fry. And I'm going to just show you how I normally do it. So I'm going to add some coconut oil. And this is one of those rare days that coconut oil actually is completely melted in room temperature. I mean, today is extremely hot. I think it's 38 degrees. This is very, very rare for London. So the coconut oil is completely melted, which is kind of convenient. So I'm going to just pour a little bit of coconut oil in my frying pan. I'm going to turn the heat on. So medium heat will do. So inside, I'm going to add a few strips of ginger, and it gives it so much flavor. Ginger's like one of my favorite things at the moment. So it's starting to sizzle slowly. I'm going to add in some red onion. It gives really good flavor as well. And then I've got sort of a mixture of vegetables. So I've got some courgette here. I'm going to just chuck in. Courgette needs a bit longer to cook, so I'm going to put in the courgette first. Once the courgette is softened slightly, I'm going to add in the peppers. And here I'm going to add in a small pinch of salt and then a splash of soy sauce. I mean, stir fry is just like the easiest and the healthiest thing to do. It's so tasty. You can add anything you like. And I've got some pot chai here as well. So I'm going to add a little bit of pot chai in there as well. A little bit more soy sauce. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to turn the heat off now. Now the heat is off, I'm going to add a splash of toasted sesame oil. So always add it once you turn the heat off. It's a generous splash of sesame oil. And that's it. And now we have the rice and the stir fry. Let's plate up. So here we go. So here's our cauliflower rice. And here's our tofu and shirataki rice. So as I said, you could add shirataki to the cauliflower the same way and just add the shirataki when you warm it up. So today, I'm only adding the shirataki to the tofu to make it lighter. And now let's plate up. So I've got a bowl here. I'm going to add both rice in there. So I'm going to add some cauliflower rice here. Try to keep it tidy. And then we're going to add some tofu rice as well. The tofu shirataki. So in terms of appearance, probably the cauliflower rice resembles the rice a bit more, but texture-wise, I actually prefer tofu rice. So it's kind of your choice. And you can even mix both of them together. That's not a problem. And now I'm going to add in our stir fry very liberally. I'm going to just... It smells amazing. It's still piping hot. And I'm going to add some cashews here just to give it that sort of crunchy texture. It'd be a nice mix. Just a few. And then some coriander on top. So I'm going to just give it a few bits of coriander. So there you go. Keto rice in 2 ways and top up with yummy stir fry. Let's eat. So here you go. Here's the keto rice in 2 ways and the stir fry to go with it. So I was just talking about how hot today was, and suddenly it started to rain really hard for like 2 minutes, and then it stopped. So that's the London weather for you. You just never know what you're gonna get. So I'm going to enjoy what I can, and I'm also going to enjoy this yummy stir fry on rice. So I'm going to try the tofu rice first. There's no seasoning whatsoever, so you can add practically anything on top of it, like curry or stir fry, whatever. So, the shirataki really makes a difference, because if you just use tofu, which you could, a lot of people do that, it's going to be quite dense and a bit too filling for me. And by adding shirataki to it, it kind of just make it more fluffy, and I really like it, the texture. So the tofu is quite firm and the shirataki is a little bit chewy, and it makes that perfect texture. That is kind of rice-like, isn't it? The stir fry is so good. I'm also going to try it with the cauliflower rice. You might think this is just chopped cauliflower, but something happens when you kind of add it to a rice dish. It's starting raining again. What did I say about London weather? And there's something about cauliflower, and it just works as a rice dish. And also it's the color as well. We eat as much with our taste bud, we also eat with our eyes. So there's a kind of rice looking kind of effect there, which is quite nice. And personally, I make the tofu rice more often if I do make rice dishes like curry, vegetable curry and stuff like that. But cauliflower is really nice option as well. It's quite light, so you're just adding more veggies to your diet. Can only be a good thing. And with the rice, my recommendation would be making just about enough for the next couple of days. I wouldn't recommend to make a huge amount for an entire week, for instance, particularly for cauliflower. Vegetables in general, you just don't want to make a huge batch and then leave in the fridge, because you're going to lose all the nutrients. It would be a shame. So I wouldn't freeze them either. The texture of tofu will change with freezing, and also cauliflower, again, it's vegetables, and I generally don't like the idea of frozen vegetables. So really, I mean, they're so quick to make. Just make enough for, maybe for the next couple of days, and that shouldn't be any problem. So I hope you enjoy that. I mean, by creating keto rice, it expands the type of dishes you can make. All those rice dishes you think you couldn't eat anymore, you could. You can make curry, and you can also make sushi rolls. And I'm hoping to make a video to show you how to do that with keto rice. Possibility is endless. So follow me on Instagram and also on Twitter as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.